I think the key to victory was focusing on the facts and the evidence, and Johnny's opportunity to speak the truth for the first time. It was 6 years in the making. Able to connect with the jury and the general public and tell what really happened in this relationship.
He wasn't in the courtroom for the verdict. What was his reaction when you told him?
He was over the moon. It was like the weight of the world had been taken off his shoulders, and I feel that finally, after 6 years, he's gotten his life back.
He also about what happened in this case, right? And the facts in this case were overwhelmingly positive for Johnny, and the verdict speaks for itself. Encourage any victim to come forward. Domestic violence doesn't have a gender.
So you don't see this as a setback to the movement in any way, shape, or form?
We do not. We believe that the verdict speaks for itself. The facts are what they were. The jury made a unanimous decision based on those facts.
During your cross-examination, what was your impression of Ms. Heard's impression on the jury?
I think that her impression on the jury was what it was. I think something that I focused on and we focused on in that cross-examination was using her words against her. And it was very important for us to, every question that was asked was tied to something she had said previously. And I think the jury got to see and the world got to see and hear from Ms. Heard in that relationship on every single topic.
And George, I think there was a real contrast. Johnny took ownership of a lot of things, and it seemed at times, and perhaps it came through to the jury, that she had an answer for everything, and she wasn't taking accountability for anything. And I think that made a difference.
Heard's lawyers say she plans to appeal the verdict. She doesn't have the money to pay for the judgment, and you all have said that the goal is not to impoverish Ms. Heard. Is it possible where we could see a settlement where she foregoes the appeal in return for Mr. Depp waiving any monetary damages?
Well, George, we obviously can't disclose attorney-client communications, but as Mr. Depp testified, and as we both made clear in our respective closings, this was never about money for Mr. Depp. So this was about restoring his reputation, and he's done that.
So you're not disclosing any privileges, but it sounds like that's something that could be on the table, but it's up to Ms. Heard?
Again, we have to be careful what we say, but this was about Mr. Depp's reputation. That was what it was about for him.
Your life has changed a lot in the last several weeks. You got made partner this week. Congratulations.
Thank you very
Both
much.
of you have also become something of social media stars. How has it changed? What does it feel like?
It's been surreal, and if I'm being honest, a bit overwhelming. But if I can be an inspiration to young women that want to go to law school and study and work hard, then it was all worth it.
You made the choice to go to Virginia for this trial. How much of a difference did that make?
I think Virginia was a good venue for some legal and other reasons, and it has a fabulous court system, tremendous judges and fair juries, and I think this the evidence was listened to carefully on both sides by the jury, and again, it came overwhelmingly in Johnny's favor.
Ms. Heard did win on one count of defamation. Will you be appealing that?
Again, I think it's premature to say, but if you look at the context of the verdict, it was a total win for Johnny.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you very much, George.
Handle it.
You know, one of the first things she said is, "I am so sorry to all those women out there. This is a setback for all women in and outside the courtroom," and she feels the burden of that.
Well, knowing the case and knowing the law, as you certainly do, frankly, it favors defendants like Amber Heard. Are you stunned that the jury essentially rejected her story?
Well, you know, really what happened here is it's a tale of two trials. Johnny Depp brought a suit in the UK for the same case, and the burden of proof was easier for him there. The son had to actually prove that it was true, and the court found there, and we weren't allowed to tell the jury this, but the court found that Mr. Depp had committed at least 12 acts of domestic violence, including sexual violence, against Amber. So what did Depp's team learn from this? Demonize Amber and suppress the evidence. We had an enormous amount of evidence that was suppressed in this case that was in the UK case. In the UK case, when it came in, Amber won, Mr. Depp lost.
But here's the thing. You were able to get some evidence that you say demonstrated abuse. You certainly had her testimony. There were pictures, documents, all kinds of evidence. But in point of fact, the jury rejected it. You argued in your closing arguments that if they found even one instance of abuse, and it did not even have to be physical abuse, that they would have to find for Amber Heard, and they didn't.
And the other part to bear in mind here is nothing changed. The op-ed didn't even mention Mr. Depp by name. And so what basically they did here is demonize her. And they were able to suppress the medical records, which were very, very significant because they showed a pattern going all the way back to 2012 of Amber reporting this to her therapist, for example. We had significant amount of texts, including from Mr. Depp's assistants, saying, when I told him he kicked you, he cried. He is so sorry. That didn't come in.
Is there any other way to interpret this verdict, though, that this jury, for whatever reason, and I hear you on some of the evidence that they didn't hear, listening to Amber Heard, did not believe a single word?
You know, and that's because she was demonized here. A number of things were allowed in this court that should not have been allowed, and it caused the jury to be confused. We weren't allowed to tell them about the UK judgment, so the damages is completely skewed. There are no damages. It stopped at November 2, 2020, which is when the judgment came down in the UK.
Let me ask you about social media in this. They're admonished every single day. Don't look at it. Do you think they did see it?
How can you not? They went home every night. They have families. The families are on social media. We had a 10-day break in the middle because of the judicial conference. There's no way they couldn't have been influenced by it. And it was horrible. It really, really was lopsided. And I appreciate your saying that. It's like the Roman Colosseum, you know, how they viewed this whole case. I was against cameras in the courtroom, and I went on record with that and had argued against it because of the sensitive nature of this. But it made it a zoo.
Does your client want to appeal?
Oh, absolutely. And she has some excellent grounds for it. We even had tried to get the UK judgment in to dismiss his case because he already had his shot. And that's one of the issues, but also a number of the evidentiary issues. There was so much evidence that did not come in.
Is she able to pay a $10.4 million judgment?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Finally, in closing arguments, Amber's team argued that this would send a message, that it would send a message that no matter what you do as an abuse victim, you always have to do more. You need to be perfect in order for people to believe you. If she did not get a favorable verdict, what message do you think this sends?
It's a horrible message. It's, as I said...